This is the review for your 9193 quiz. Our first question says, which system of equations can be readily solved by the substitution method? Remember, any equation can be solved by substitution, but you generally want to pick an equation that's easily set up to be solved by substitution, which means we're looking for a variable that's either completely by itself or as close as possible. So if I look at choice A, every variable has a number with it. So it wouldn't be choice A. Same thing with choice B. Yes, you could solve to put it in substitution mode, but you'd be adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. You'd be doing multi-steps, which we want to avoid. Choice C, all the variables have a number with it. And then when I look at choice D, there's an x that's almost by itself. So that would be the equation that you could readily solve by substitution. Question number 2 says to solve 2x plus 5y equals 4 and 2x plus 3y equals 2. Remember, we have 3 methods to solve systems with: graphing, substitution, and elimination. Graphing, really and truly, we're only going to do that if they tell us to. Substitution, just like in question 1, we're looking for that variable that's either completely by itself or close. And elimination, we're looking for x's and y's to be lined up and for them to have either opposites or a pair that we can make opposites. So if I look at number 2, substitution would not be a good method because you'd have a lot of work to get a variable by itself. Elimination, I have a pair of 2 x's. So since they're almost able to be eliminated, we're going to make them all on the second one the opposite. So that turns them all negative in this case. So we're going to add these equations together. The 2 x's are going to cancel. 5y plus negative 3y is now 2y. And 4 plus negative 2 is a positive 2. Divide by 2, y equals 1. Now, one nice thing about multiple choice is you can automatically cancel or get rid of the ones that can't be it. Like A can't be it because y is not 2. B could be it. C can't be it because y is not negative 2/5. And here they're trying to trick you because they said x was 1. But remember, it's y is 1 here. And D can't be it because, again, y is not negative 3. So even without finding the x, we actually do know our answer. But let's go ahead and practice that. You could take either equation. I'm just going to take the top one. So 2x plus 5 times 1, which is equal to 4. 2x plus 5 equals 4. Subtract 5. 2x is equal to negative 1. We would then divide by 2. So x equals negative 1/2, which is what B had already said x was. So B is the final answer. Question number 3 says, what can be done to eliminate the x variable in the system shown? Well, we haven't talked about dividing, so we know it can't be that. Part B says to add the corresponding sides. Well, if I add, would that eliminate it? That's actually true, so we know it's choice B, but let's read the other choices. C says to multiply one of the equations by negative 1. Well, we only need to do that if they had both been a positive 3x. And then in D, it says to multiply each term in 3x minus 3y equals 11 by 10, and multiply each term in the second equation by 3. Well, we haven't talked about multiplying by anything other than negative 1, which is our adding the opposite. So that does mean B is the correct answer. Number 4, Kaylee wants to find the exact solution to the system shown, and they want to know which would be the most straightforward. Well, part A says to graph it because it gives a visual, but remember there were times we had to estimate with graphing, and since this one did say the word exact, that means graphing wouldn't be it. B says it has no solution, so the method selected does not matter. This one wouldn't have no solution because your y's are not going to eliminate. In order for them to eliminate, you would have to have the same number for both of them. C says the substitution method, because you could easily solve an equation for a variable. Well, looking at it, I don't see a variable that would be easy to solve for because they all have a number attached to it. So hopefully that leaves us choice D, which says the elimination method, because one variable in each equation has the same coefficient. They do. The x's both have a 3, so that does mean elimination would be the easiest to give us the exact answer. So letter D. Question 5, it's not labeled 1 because it's now a short answer question, says to solve by substitution. So substitution, I'm looking for a variable by itself. And even though this one is written backwards, that y is by itself, so we don't have to solve for an equation. It's already set up for us. So that means in the second equation, I'm going to replace this y with what y is equal to, which is 3x plus 2. So I'm going to put 3x plus 2, and then bring down the rest of that second equation. And now I'm going to solve for x. Well, 3x and minus 2x is 1x, or x, plus 2 equals negative 5. Subtract 2, x equals negative 7. Well, x isn't the only thing I want to find. I also need to find y. The easiest equation to put that back into would be the top one. So it's going to go 3 times negative 7 plus 2 equals y. 3 times negative 7, negative 21, plus 2 equals y. Negative 19 equals y. Let's write it as an ordered pair. Negative 7, comma, negative 19. Number 6 says to solve it by graphing. So we don't have a choice here because the graph is part of the answer. Well, in order to solve it, we need to make sure each equation is written in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to take the first one, x plus 3y equals 15, and I'm going to solve for y. So minus x, 3y is equal to negative x plus 15. Y is still not by itself, so we're going to divide by 3. So y equals, now remember, when there's not a number with the x, we can put in that invisible 1. So it's like saying negative 1 divided by 3, which is 1/3 x, and then plus 5, 15 divided by 3. So this means we start at 5 on the graph. And my slope is negative 1/3, so down 1 to the right 3. Because remember, if you go in two negatives, that actually makes a positive. And then I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to make as straight of a line as possible. You should be using your rulers. Fortunately, there's no ruler on this program. And now I'm going to move on to the second equation. X plus y equals 3. So to graph that, I need to get y by itself, so minus x, y equals negative x plus 3. So this one, I'm going to start at 3, and I do have another negative slope. So start at 3. And then this one says to go down 1 and then to the right 1. Now that means that it's not going to be connected over here. And since my line isn't perfectly straight, I'm going to go the opposite direction. So instead of going down 1, I'm going to go up 1, which means I have to go left 1 as well. And then I'm going to continue that until I make sure I know where it's going to hit. And again, that's mainly because I don't have a ruler that I can use on this program. So So we're looking for the solution, which is where the two lines cross. So that would be at -3 and 6. So there's your solution for this system. Our next problem says to solve for elimination, which means we're looking for two variables that will either cancel out right away, or if I make them the opposite, they will. Well, the x's aren't going to do that. I look at my y's, they're both a positive 2y, so I need to add the opposite. So go plus, and then make them the opposite, which means negative, negative, and another negative. X plus negative 4x is negative 3x. The two y's cancel. Negative 5 plus negative 22 is negative 27. Divide them both by negative 3. So x equals a positive 9. So now I need to plug that back in to find y. I'm going to go back to my top equation. And instead of x plus 2y, it's going to be 9 plus 2y. Equals negative 5, which means I need to subtract that positive 9. So 2y equals negative 14. Divide both sides by 2. So y is equal to negative 7, which means my solution is 9, negative 7. Our next problem simply says to solve, so really that means you can solve it whichever way you prefer. Looking at how it's set up, since I'm noticing that these y's can be eliminated pretty easily, I have a feeling most of you will choose elimination. You could choose substitution, and if you do, then your answer should still come out to be the same at the end. The y's are both positive, which means in order to eliminate them, I need to add the opposite. So plus, and then make them all the opposite, which is again like multiplying by negative 1. 2x plus negative 3x makes negative 1x, or just negative x. The y's cancel. 13 plus negative 12 is 1. Now, that x is not by itself yet, because it's a negative x. So we need to divide both sides by negative 1. Which means x is equal to a negative 1. 1 divided by negative 1. That's half of our answer. So I need to plug it back in, doesn't matter where. I'm going to choose the top again. So 2 times negative 1 plus y equals 13. So I now have negative 2 plus y is 13. Add 2. Y equals 15. So my answer is negative 1, 15. In number 5 here, it asks what's the y coordinate. So that means once I find y, I'm done. I don't care about x. If I find x along the way, that's fine, but that's not part of my answer. So I look at how the equations are set up. I notice I've got a variable by itself, which means substitution would be the best method here. I know a lot of you probably don't like substitution, but this one is perfectly set up for it. So I'm going to replace this y with what y is equal to, which is x plus 3. So it's going to be 2x plus x plus 3 for y equals the rest of the equation, negative 6. This parenthesis, there's nothing to distribute, and there's a plus out front of it, so it doesn't really matter. So 2x plus x is 3x plus 3 equals negative 6. Subtract 3. So now 3x is equal to negative 9. Divide by 3. X equals negative 3. Now that's great, but that's not part of my answer because my answer said what's the y coordinate. So now I go back up to either equation. I'm going to choose the top one here. And I'm going to say y. Sorry, that's a really bad y. Y is equal to negative 3 plus 3, which means y is 0, and that's my answer, because that's the y coordinate. Number 6, we again have a system to solve. It doesn't tell us which method, so we could pick any method we wanted to. It is set up as y equals, so if you wanted to draw a graph, you could. With this one, even though the x and y's aren't on the same side, you could use elimination since they're lined up, but I'm going to choose to go with substitution since there's a variable by itself. Now with this one, not only is this y by itself, but so is this y. So since each y is equal to something else, we're going to set that equivalent to each other. So we're going to go 2x plus 1, and we're going to say since that's equal to y, and y is also equal to 3x plus 6. So now we solve this. So we subtract 2x since it's the smaller one on both sides. So I have 1 equals 1x, or just x plus 6. Subtract 6. So x is equal to negative 5. We then plug it back in. Again, it doesn't matter top or bottom. I'm just going to use the top. So it'd be y equals 2 times negative 5 plus 1. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Add 1 to it is negative 9. So our ordered pair would be negative 5, negative 9. Number 7, we're asking for the x coordinate. So once I find my x's, I'm done with this problem. So I look at how it's set up, and the best way to solve this would be elimination, since x's and y's are lined up, and I have a pair of opposites. So when I add these two equations together, here's where some students make a mistake. If I have x plus x, that means 1x plus 1x, which is 2x. Make sure you don't just put an x there. X plus x is 2x. The y's cancel. Negative 1 plus negative 7 is negative 8. Divide by 2. X equals negative 4. The directions said what is the x coordinate. I just found it, so I don't even need to go back and find y. Number 8, they give us a graph and we're asked to find the solution. Well, if we have two lines, the solution is the point of intersection. So for that one, it would be right here. So all we need to do is label that point, and that is the point of 2 on the x and 4 on the y. So the solution would be 2, 4. Number 9 asks us to graph this. So not only do we need to make sure we get the graph correct, but the answer on the graph as well. So I look at each equation. It is not in slope-intercept form, so we're going to have to turn it into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to start with the first one. So I'm going to subtract 5x. So I have 4y is equal to negative 5x plus 6. Divide by 4. So y equals negative 5/4 x. 6 over 4, I can divide them both by 2, which will give me 3/2, or maybe you changed it to 1.5. So that means that on the graph, I'm not starting on a line, I'm starting in between 1 and 2. So 1.5 would be about there. The slope for this one is negative 5/4. So that means I'm going to go down 5 and over 4. Now, since I started in between a line, that means every time I go down 1, I'm still in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then then to the right 4. And then one more time. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then to the right 4. Again, use your straight edge, please, to make a nice straight line. And now we move to the second equation. Negative 3x minus y equals 2. So we're going to add the 3x. So negative y equals 3x plus 2. Negative y means the y is not by itself yet. So we're going to divide everything by negative 1 to get rid of that negative. So y is now equal to negative 3x minus 2. So we start at negative 2, and then my slope says to go down 3. 1, 2, 3, and then over 1 because it's a whole number. I know it's not going to cross this way, so I'm going to go up and do the opposite. So up 3 and to left 1, and then since my line is kind of crooked, I'm going to go ahead and do it again and see if I can figure out where they actually meet up at. And that does. So the point of intersection is right there, which would be at negative 2, positive 4. Number 10, here's one of our word problems. 2 gyms offer a 2-month boot camp training program. One gym charges $3 per session plus a one-time $45 fee. So we have our first gym. They charge $3 per session. We don't know how many sessions, so 3S, but we know that we have to pay the $45 fee. So here's our first equation. The second gym charges $6 per session plus a one-time $21 fee. So 6 per session plus 21. And now since they're both, we want to know when they're the same, we want to set the two equations equal to each other. So 3s plus 45 equals 6s plus 21. Since the 3s is smaller, I'm going to move that over. So I have 45 equals 3s plus 21. Subtract 21. So I have 24 equals 3s. Divide by 3. So at the 8th session, the gyms will cost the same amount. Now let's see what the question wanted to know. And it said for what number of sessions is the cost of the program the same? It's not asking for what the cost is, just the number of sessions. So once again, that was 8 sessions. Last problem on the review says to solve it by graphing. So that means I have to look at each equation and make sure that it's either in slope-intercept form or I can put it in there. They're not in slope-intercept form, so we need to start there. So negative 2x plus y equals 1. So I'm going to add the 2x. So y equals 2x plus 1, which means I start at positive 1. And slope of 2 means I'm going to go up 2 over 1. and then up 2 over 1. And then use your straight edge to draw this line. First equation. Second equation is x plus y equals -8. To get the y by itself, we're going to subtract x. So y equals -x minus 8. So this time I need to start all the way down, -8. And then it says to go down 1 and to the right 1, since it's a -x, which means a -1. I noticed that where they're going to cross is going to be over here. A little bit better here. So since it's going to be over here, I'm going to go the opposite direction to figure out where exactly it lands. So instead of going down 1, I'm going to go up 1 and to the left 1 for that negative direction. And that's where I can see where they're going to meet. And that solution is at -3, -5. And there's the last answer to your review.